All right, good afternoon, East. All right, let's do it one more time just because that's what you do. Good afternoon, East.
Good afternoon.
Okay, we've got a pretty good group here. I was pretty convinced we were going to have enough to line the front row, and I was just going to have 5 people here. So thanks for coming. It means a lot. Thanks for those who are tuning in online. If you were looking for the basics of deli meat, that's not this breakout. This is live streaming. How you can use live streaming to benefit your community. So hopefully that's what you want to talk about. Someone keeps trying to airdrop me things. So please quit trying to airdrop me things. I will decline yet again. And I'm going to turn these notifications off. Seriously though, if you keep doing it, it's just going to keep coming up and it's going to be kind of a distraction. So try not to if you don't mind. And so what I'd love to talk about is how this can benefit your community. But I didn't want to take 45 minutes and just kind of give a sermon about community engagement. If there's one organization that gets community stuff, it's you guys. It's East. That's what you guys do every day. You do more for the community than any other group of students I've ever seen. So I don't feel like we need to do a sermon on taking care of your community. What I'd like to do is just kind of more or less cover some of the fundamentals of live streaming and maybe some things to keep in mind. One of the things, it's really easy to Google and hop on YouTube for really specific tutorials. Let's just get used to raising our hands. Raise your hand if you've learned how to do some amount of streaming from YouTube. And I'll raise my hand too. How about the guys in the back? Yep. Okay, great. Well, yeah, it's easy. And you can hop on YouTube and be like, how does my ATEM switcher media player refresh or something? You can YouTube a specific topic. What's difficult to find are just kind of where to begin and the fundamentals. Does that make sense? Kind of like the timeless best practices. There's tons of men and women out there doing tutorials on how to fix something or how to solve something. And so I don't think you need a sermon on community engagement. I also don't think you need a live demo with me mousing around the software and showing you how to do this or that. I think you can go find that on YouTube. What I want to talk about is maybe some timeless fundamentals that apply whether you have last year's model or this year's model or next year's model of gear, because the gear is going to come and go, okay? I'd like to figure out how old everybody is. Just can everybody stand up for a second? Let's just get this out of the way. Everybody stand up. If you're, I don't know how to do this. If you're younger than 12, sit down. If you're younger than 15, sit down. If you're younger than 18, sit down. Everybody else sit down? Great. Okay, cool. That's great. So it's important then that I'm going to try to keep things pretty broad because I don't want to just be talking at the senior and high school level. I don't think that's fair. But also don't want to just talk at the middle school level. So I'm going to try to keep things broad. But what I promise is I will save time at the end. And I'm watching the time. I'll save time at the end for Q&A, and we get really specific in the questions, okay? So for those online or in the room, if you think of something while I'm talking, if you disagree with something while I'm talking, jot that down. I'd love to argue about it in front of everyone at the end during questions and answers, okay? So I'll save time for that at the end. But I didn't want to dive into all of the how-to and stuff without making sure we're all aligned and understand this phrase, and this is how it all ties into the community, that together we're a force for good. Live streaming is a team effort. It takes a crew. We're going to talk about how you could maybe do it with one, but usually it's going to be a team effort. And so I just want to make sure we're aligned around, I want to teach you today. I want to go over some fundamentals. I want to empower you with skills. But what you do with them is up to you. And you could take these skills and just kind of do whatever with them for money or for yourself or something like that. But what I've always seen East do in the very short amount of time that I've fallen in love with East, I've seen you guys apply this to your community. And so what I would challenge you is, I'm going to teach you these things, but it's up to you to then use those tools for good. I feel like there's a good Spider-Man quote in here or something, but use what I'm about to teach you for your communities. I'm going to talk about 3 main things. I'll do questions at the end. Yes, that's the Spider-Man quote. Yes, golf clap, golf clap. Yes, very good. It's a great quote. We're going to cover three things. I'm going to talk about crew. I'm going to talk about some how-to stuff. And then I'm going to talk about what I've called development, which is basically what I've done wrong in my career and how you could not make those same mistakes. I'll just give you the answers to the test. So I'll cover that towards the end. Before I dive in, I have a video clip that they're going to play for me here in just a second from the back. This is just like a 40-second social media video that we made after a show that we just live streamed. I barely introduced myself. I should have started this. I'm Cameron. Cameron, thanks for coming. I'm with Avad3. We're a production company. We do event production. Those are my teammates in the back. In the general session this morning, those are my teammates. We do this, like what you're watching happen right now. It's just that I'm the presenter, which is a little odd. Usually I'm back there with them. But this is a 40-second social media clip that we just shot kind of behind the scenes at a recent live stream. And it's really cool because it has airplanes, and I like airplanes. So just watch this quick clip to kind of see behind the scenes a little bit of a larger show, and then we're going to kind of break that down, if that's safe. So I'll step out of the way, and we'll play this video here. Neat. Okay. Yeah. Good. We're gonna get good at the golf clap here. Good. Maybe we don't have to go to like a formal give me a whole paragraph of what you thought, but maybe just a few shout outs. Maybe a one-word answer, something you saw in there. Not obviously like the plane. Don't say plane, but what did you see from a production standpoint in there? What did you see from a gear standpoint, from a crew standpoint? Just like one-word answers or short answers. You're right here. Yeah. It was live streaming right here.
There were people who were developing how it should be just doing stuff to make it look a little bit better.
That's right. People were making it a little bit better right here. There was a camera person right here. Yep, there's a screen with themes on it. Great. Yeah, good. So you guys are, that's enough for now. You guys are observant. What's cool is at your age, which I was 12 when I got started doing this, so I was right there with you, your mind is a sponge. It's amazing just showing a 40-second clip how much you can learn just from keeping your eyes open. So I don't want to pick that whole thing apart, but that was a larger show. We're going to break it down kind of from the fundamentals of what you maybe saw there, and I want to start with crew. What I'd like to do, this is a little bit weird, maybe quirky, risky, adventurous, vulnerable, strange. I'd like to do kind of a little almost mock live stream or some sort of like a little demonstration. So I'll ask for a few volunteers. Could get weird, not yet. Great, love the enthusiasm. If it gets weird, we'll just scrap it and I'll go back to the slides. But I think it would be helpful to try to kind of model some of this stuff. So let me steal this chair from you if you don't mind. And the most awkward part is getting these to break apart. I have no idea how this comes apart. Anyone? Bueller? No idea? Great. Well, forget the chair. We don't need the chair. Chair is just a feature. Let's do it this way. Let's do... You have to lift the chair up all the way because the legs go through the link. I don't know. Why don't you stand up? How about that? Sorry to bother you. Why don't you stand up? This is a silly chain reaction. Yes. Thank you so much. Do you mind sliding down one chair? Is that okay? I have a chair now. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is kind of a mock live stream. I want to talk through some fundamentals of things, and we'll just do almost like a news program. That's what we had at my junior high. We didn't have East at that time. I was a little too old. But we're gonna put somebody here. We're gonna talk about some cameras, some audio, and some lighting in just a second. Before we really start to kind of paint that picture, I want to talk about crew, and I want to talk about a couple different ways to kind of look at this. We're doing it in this order on purpose. Crew is really the first thing you need to think about if you're going to plan a live stream, whether it's a newscast or a sports cast or whatever, community programming. Crew is the first thing you need to think about, and here's why. Turn around. How many men are serving on this crew right here? 2. Okay. Alex, how many people are on the general session crew? 12. Okay, great. Now, we all saw the general session this morning. It was way cooler than this. There was like music cues and lights happening and stuff, right? We can do all of that not because we have the lights. We can do that because there's 12 people in there. If I ask these guys to be hitting light cues and all this stuff, it's too much for 2 people to do, okay? And so the first thing we need to think about if we're going to be planning a live stream is, well, how many people have we got? Because sometimes kind of like your eyes are bigger than your appetite. Like you could have all these wild ideas for all this lighting cues and all this crazy stuff, but if it's going to be like you and your buddy and that's it on the crew, don't overdo it by coming up with stuff that you just can't accomplish. So first question we need to ask ourselves is, how many crew do we have? One thing we say at work at Avad3 is our people make the difference. It really doesn't matter if you've got a piece of junk switcher or the state-of-the-art video switcher, awesome microphones, wireless, 4K. The people is what will actually make the difference, okay? Does that make sense? Let's get good at like this because I feel like it's really quiet, so that's good, thank you. The people are what make the difference. The man who is mixing audio for the general session ran sound for the president last week. The President of the United States spoke at a thing in Fort Worth. Michael ran sound at that, okay? The mixer he was running on that was smaller than this. It's a little thing. It's a little baby mixer. It's not about the gear. It's about that he is who is running it. Does that make sense? The people are what make the difference, not the gear. So as I said, first we need to determine how many people. In this example, I'd love to have maybe four people. I'm not going to do it yet. You guys are so awesome. I love the volunteering. We'll do a crew of 4 just to kind of do an example, and so that's what we'll do up here. But you might only have 2 or you might have 6. I mean, who knows? So I want to talk about what are some general roles, and then we'll start to kind of build this little model. So some general, I'll do a question at the end. Is that okay, or have you got something now? Sorry.
I thought you were going to like ask us like what roles. Never mind.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. So I want to cover some roles of maybe some production seats that would be applicable. Would anyone like to guess maybe what a few of these roles are? Have you just like thrown some out there? Let's go right here. Yeah. Cameraman. Okay, great. Put your hand down if that one is yours. Keep it up if you got another one in mind.
The sound guy.
The sound guy. Great answer. Let's go right here.
The lights guy.
The lights guy. Yep. Took the words right out of my mouth right here.
The mix effective.
The what?
The person who makes the animation.
The animations, graphics. Okay, I like that. Let's go right here.
If you're doing athletic like we do, the spotter.
The what?
If you're doing athletic, you need the spotter.
Spotter. Good. Yep.
The person who writes the script.
Person who writes the scripts. That's good. The switcher person. Good. All the way in the back. The person who edits the video. Great. Back to here.
The feedback. Like the person who will add feedback if something going on.
Yep. Commentator. Yep. Right here. Yep.
Director.
Director's good. Back here. Okay. Anybody else? The technician. Good. We're running out of steam because we've covered like 15 names. These are all legitimate names. You could have a Steadicam operator. You know, you could have somebody who's just playing back videos. You could have somebody just doing instant replay. That's enough for now. Thank you all. There's so many positions you can have, okay? There's so many specialists. As you have a crew of 12, like we do in the general session, it can get specialized. In this example, we're gonna mesh a lot of those together, and we're gonna kind of say people are wearing multiple hats. And so what we're gonna talk about in this is someone doing audio, someone doing all the video, including the camera. Call me crazy, I wanna show you that. Someone handling the lighting, and then we're gonna call this other person the leader, okay? Production manager, director, leader is a good title for today, I think is good. So I want to cover those 4 positions, but you guys did a good job of covering some of the more specialized positions, like in sports. There's all these nuanced other positions that you have if you have those people. Okay, so I'm going to teach those positions by talking about the gear. Okay, so we're going to transition now to gear and do kind of some how-to. So we're just, since you guys love to volunteer, we're going to get way more people in on this than we need to, and we'll do a couple of folks. So first volunteer, great, right here. Come on up. Yep, come on up. Great. So we are going to, and you're off the hook. You're literally going to sit here. You're the talent. Okay? So he's sitting here. He's the talent. He's got the easiest job. So congratulations. He's here. Now, hold on. I'll call for you as we go here. So what I want to cover is the first thing you want to do when you're, and you're going to be up here for like 10 minutes. So just like hang tight. Get comfortable. Sorry. We're gonna cover how you would set up if this was like a newscast or a sportscast, kind of a studio thing. And this is the same exact methodology that we used on Monday afternoon when we were building the general session. It's the same methodology that we used Tuesday afternoon when we were setting up this room, okay? We call it placement, power, signal. And it's so simple that you're going to laugh and say, is this really what this guy came to teach us? Is like something so fundamental? But I see this get wrong over and over and over on live stream setups and general event production setups all day. The first thing you want to do is place your gear. When we came in here, we placed these two speakers. Okay, we placed that table. Then we got the speakers and the switcher power. Then we ran signal cable to those. I'm going to wander over here. Tobia, keep you on your toes. Like this, this speaker, surprise, surprise, has 2 wires. They did a great job of taping this and making it look really clean, and I'm just going to mess it all up here. It has 2 wires, so it has a power wire and it has a signal wire. Does this make sense? It's like your camera, you've got to give it power, and then you got to get a video cable out of it like an HDMI. Okay? So this sounds so silly and fundamental to say placement, power, signal, but we want to place our camera, then get it power, then get signal from it. Okay? Can anyone tell me like maybe why we would want to do that, or why we, you know, what would happen badly if we didn't want to do that? Anybody? Okay, great. Let's go right here.
Well, if we didn't place the camera and give it power, it wouldn't work for the video.
That's right. We need to place it and turn it on so that we can see what in the world we're doing. Okay? It's tempting to like get all the HDMI cables out. That's good for now. Thank you. To get all the HDMI cables out and start running signal, right? Because we know we got to get that done. But we want to place that camera first and decide where it's going to be so we don't run the cable all over the room, okay? And this sounds so silly, but I see it all the time. We get the camera out, we get the HDMI cable out, bless you, and then the camera battery dies or something. You know, we didn't get camera power to it. You've learned this the hard way. I see you nodding violently. Yes, it's an important lesson to learn. And so the first thing we want to do is placement, power, signal. So we want to place all of our gear, we want to give all of our gear power, and then we want to give all of our gear signal, okay? So I want to talk about the 3 departments, video, in this order, video, audio, and lighting. And we're going to use that to cover kind of the 3 technicians on the crew that support the leader of this 4-person live stream crew, okay? So second volunteer, great, you were very on it, great, come up here. I wish the chairs moved. It's going to be kind of a bummer. So this is going to get weird. Why don't you just like sit on the floor here? That's super strange, sorry. So she's going to represent our camera, and I'm going to give you my iPhone in like camera view. Hopefully I don't get any texts. First thing we got to do is figure out where's this camera going to be placed, okay? So I want to talk about camera placement for this hypothetical live stream that she is setting up for now because she is the video department. She is the camera operator, okay? So it's tempting, as you can imagine, to put that camera as close as possible, you know, to say, okay, let's just get real close here. Okay, that's going to look weird. It's going to be way too close, kind of a fisheye lens. It's also tempting if your camera has just this epic zoom to be like, well, let's come way the heck back here, okay? What I would challenge you is forget the camera for a second and ask yourself in a normal, just human-to-human conversation about how far away would you be? Because the camera is the eye of your viewer at home. It's representing those at home. And so if I was going to listen, what's your name? Riley, if I was going to listen to Riley talk, am I going to come over here like this? I mean, this is a weird distance to listen to Riley talk, so that's going to feel weird at home when we're this far away and we've zoomed in. We're going to get to a normal, reasonable distance. So Riley's here, and what's your name?
Addison.
Addison is going to sit right here, and she's going to be the camera because she's decided that's a human-to-human distance for this conversation, this interview, this show that we're about to have. Does that make sense? We've placed the camera, we're going to give it power, we're going to give it signal. I want to talk about microphone placement, okay? And the good thing about microphone placement is this is timeless. This never changes. Like the technology, it's all the same. I need another volunteer. Great, right here. Yes, I love this bow tie. You're looking good. I'm going to borrow the camera, and we're going to turn this into an audio demonstration real quick. So I'm actually going to use that flashlight on my phone. What's your name?
Ben.
Ben, okay. Come stand right here. You guys know like the big boom, like the big audio poles, you know what I'm talking about? I saw one in the expo floor. Okay, great. So Ben, you're like a boom pole now. So do you see how the flashlight is lighting up Riley's face? You guys kind of see the difference? Like if I take it away and put it here? Okay, great. Now, I know this is a flashlight, not a microphone, but it helps me. I'm a visual learner. It helps me to see this. If we put the microphone, which is a flashlight right now, bear with me, it's a little silly. We're hearing Riley, right? You're seeing it light up Riley's face as opposed to it not being there. But are we really lighting up Riley's face well?
No.
Right, so what do we need to do? Way closer, right. See the difference? Sorry, you're just blind now. How you doing down there? Great, yeah, there's dots everywhere. So this is much closer, okay? But this is in our camera shot, right? If you can just imagine, there's a lot of imagination in this session. It's right here, it's in our camera shot. So where would we put that microphone then to get it out of the camera shot? Above. So let's go above, but this is too far away. How's this, right? We can, yes, that camera shot, usually I like to pretend there's an apple on the head of whoever I'm framing up. It's like there's probably an old thing like they shoot an arrow at an apple. What is that? Johnny Appleseed or something? I don't know. That's usually my camera frame, right? I'm just like, how's your hair here? Sorry. There's an apple on his head, and that's where my camera shot is going to stop. And so that microphone can be right here. Now, we don't want it too far back because his mouth is in the front, okay? So we want it in the front. We want it just out of frame and really close. I don't care if your microphone costs 19 cents or $1,900. You put it 6 inches from their mouth, it's going to sound terrific. Conversely, you could have a $1,900 microphone, how tall are you, and be doing it like this, and it's not going to sound like $1,900, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, exactly. I see this all the time. I was giving Sam a hard time. He's doing our interviews and teaching some of y'all from the doc team about that. And I went into the interview room, and his mic was way up here. He's like, well, that's not going to be there. It's because the person was sitting down. But when they're doing interviews, it's right here. And that's what makes it sound really good. So we have our camera person. She's placed herself. We have our audio person. He's placed himself. Let's talk about lighting now. I'm going to borrow my phone again. You're just stuck standing here because that's what we're doing. Let's talk about lighting. Great. Come on up. Great. You're in the front row. Sorry, everybody. Let's say we have 2 lights. Let's not do 3. Let's not do 10. We've got 2 lights. Where should she put the first light? Anybody? This is like a big trick question. It's impossible, but just right where she is. Great. Good job. Yeah, right where she is. Perfect. He answered, sorry. Right here, 45 degrees off the nose and a little up. Ideally, a 45-degree angle up. Does that make sense? 45 degrees off, 45 up. So raise your hand like way up in the air. So that light's going to be up here, right? Now, put your hand down like this, like you're like, what superhero is this? Where's my... Thank you so much. Iron Man. That's not good because it's down here on his eye level. He's going to look like a deer in the headlights, and I'll demonstrate that right now. So this is flattering to the face. It looks good, like it looks good. This, it's too like in line. Are you blind yet? I'm sorry. We're just shining this light all over you. I'm sorry. So the light is way too on axis. Up here is much more pleasant. Why? Because the sun is up here. It's what we're used to seeing. We're not used to seeing like this. Yeah, it feels like a deer in the headlights, and that's not good for the deer. So, or you, yes, or you, good. So first light over here. Thoughts on a second light?
Above the microphone, like at the microphone level.
Okay, at the microphone level. Anybody else want to take a stab at it over here?
Like on the other side at the same degree.
Other side, same degree. I like that. Anybody want to challenge that? Disagree? Here, right here, go ahead.
Maybe like above the camera.
Above the camera, yeah, right on. Anybody else?
The front.
Say what?
Behind the camera.
Over here? Kind of like in line with the camera? What do you mean behind the camera? Like straight or?
So it won't be like it won't be like in front of the camera, but behind it.
Yeah, okay, great. Great answers, everybody, great answers. I'm going to go with over here, opposite side, same angle, okay? Now, there's a trick to this. I would not turn them both on at the same brightness. It's a little too flat. It's a little too like sterile or equal. Make your first one brighter. Make this one a little darker. If your lights don't dim, just back it up a foot. Does that make sense? Because if this light is this distance from him and I back it up now, it's darker. Right? Okay, great. Probably not blowing minds here. This is probably a lot of common sense. I wish I never saw these mistakes, but I see them every week. I see them all the time. And so I'm covering this as this fundamental so that you guys take this back. I think you guys are off the hook. Can we give them a round of applause? This was silly. Okay, great. I'll keep that here for now. Before we get out of this how-to and placement, I want to talk about switcher and mixer placement real quick. The switcher, where that camera is going to get fed into, is going to get like an HDMI cable out of the camera. Most HDMI cables don't cooperate past about 15 feet. You might have a 25-footer or some secret sauce or something, but typically I have trouble if they're longer than 15 feet. So you're going to want to put your switcher pretty close, but not so close that it's affecting the sound, and never so close that it's in the camera shot. I think it's best to put it just directly behind the camera, maybe 10 extra feet, so whoever's running the switcher can see it. In my example, I said there's only 4 on this crew. There's the leader and then 1 for each department. A lot of times, if you'll just all turn around for a second and look back here, Micah has a buddy on this show. Wave, Micah. He has Toby. Wave, Toby. He's got Toby as a buddy. So on this show, we've got 2 people, but sometimes it would just be Micah. And so he's literally switching it and running the camera at the same time, and that's fine. Because in this situation, that camera's not moving much because he's sitting down. Does this make sense? It's okay to have the same person run the camera as the switcher. A lot of times, the first position we thought of is, a camera op. It's a little bit almost wasteful to say this person, all they're going to do is run the camera. The camera's not moving. Maybe repurpose that person and put them on the switcher a little bit when you're thinking about crewing. With audio, you can run audio as far away as you want. I would encourage you to make sure that your audio person, after Ben, I think it was, places that mic, he should get away. He should get out of earshot of naturally hearing it, where when he puts on some headphones, he's only hearing what people at home are hearing. This is a common issue. We're in the studio, we're shooting, we're on location, whatever. We think it sounds great, but we're not listening to what people at home are listening to. We're just listening with our ears, and that's not accurate. So I would put audio far enough away that they can only hear what people at home are hearing, okay? Quick pulse. How are we doing? Is this okay? Is this okay? Okay, good. Just making sure. If it's not, there's a door. No hard feelings. Just, that's okay. I want to talk about this last thing, which is development, which is just some mistakes I've made in my career and things I would advise you to do differently. What I love about East, you guys are here, you're engaged, you're all about it. And East can do incredible things for you. I loved her example this morning about how East gives you the resources. You have time set aside. It's beautiful. But really, where you go from here is really up to you. It's not up to your facilitator. It's not up to your teammates or your group mates on a project. It's up to you. And so I want to talk about maybe some mindsets about how to look at things in the next 6 years for those under 12, 3 years for those under 15, even the facilitators that are in here. One thing I'll say about development, and I'm sorry this is so gray, and this projector of this venue is not super bright, so you can't really read it, but I put experience is greater than all. And when I was 18, it was like spring break and my senior year, and I was just sure I was not going to go to college. I was just dead set on no college. And my dad really felt like I should go to college, and we were really butting heads on it. And my dad said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to find like 5 professionals in town who do what it is that you want to do, which is production. Here I am. And we're going to ask them what they think about you not going to college. Totally backfired on them. All 5 of them said the same thing. The kid doesn't need to go to college. It's not good for my dad. So I won the argument. I ended up going to college anyways, which is a good choice, and recommend it. But what I would say is, I recommend it because I found my wife there. I don't have a picture of the family in the deck. I normally have a picture of the wife and our 2 boys and the dog. But that's what I got from college, was a beautiful wife. What I say is experience is actually better than anything that you could learn in a classroom unless you count learning in a classroom experience. A lot of people put a lot of eggs in going to get your associates and then maybe going to get your bachelor's, maybe one or the other, going to a tech school, going to get your master's or something. And that's all great. If you want to go into education, you have to have those documents. Certain jobs, you have to have those documents. I respect all of that. But every person that I've ever hired at Avad3, I haven't even gotten that far down on their resume. I'm not really looking at their education. I'm not really looking at their GPA, which may make your teachers mad that I said that, and I'm sorry. I'm looking at what kind of experience do they have? Have they been doing this since they were 12? Have they served in maybe a news environment when they were 13 at East, and maybe a sports environment when they were 15 at East? Have they gone out in the field and gotten an entry-level job in this? That's what I'm looking at, and that's something that I see as a common mistake of people kind of misunderstanding, thinking that the piece of paper is going to get you the job. I'm going to move quickly through this because we're at time here, or we're not at time, but it's time for questions. So if you've had questions, be thinking of them. I'm almost there. We'll take some from the folks at home as well. A couple of quick things I would say as far as getting started in your career, which starts now, don't wait till you're 18, is get in the environment. My wife is an ER nurse, and some of the best ER nurses, while they're in school, are being a CNA or a tech up at the hospital. My wife didn't do that. She focused on school, got out, and she remembers the first time she had to touch a patient. It freaked her out. It scared her. She had to touch someone's arm to put their IV in, and she was super spooked. And she realized oh shoot, some of my coworkers have actually been up here as entry-level people for 3 years, and they're very comfortable in the room. Okay, don't go all through middle school and high school and go through college, and then your first job is the first time you've been in a studio, or it's the first time you've been in a sportscast or something. Go and just volunteer, or run cables or something. That's the best thing that you can do, is be in the environment where the environment is not foreign to you. Going faster and faster here for questions. If you get that shot, somebody gives you a shot, a few people gave me a shot, I still appreciate those people. Be early and look the part. Don't show up on time or be late. If somebody's sticking their neck out for you and giving you a shot, be early and look the part. You guys obviously know how to dress up. You look awesome. Some of these shows, you don't have to dress up this much, but look the part of whatever you're going to be doing that day. And then the last thing, when you're in those environments and you're looking the part and you're early, it's up to you to ask good questions. I kind of skipped my bio at the beginning for the sake of time, but I had a great mentor when I was 12, but it wasn't his job to teach me. It was my job to learn from him. And what I learned was from asking good questions. Okay, does that make sense? It's a great segue into you asking great questions here in a second for Q&A. But when you're there, if you're just kind of there, you're not going to maximize your learning. You have to ask the good questions. So in recap, that's what we covered, kind of some crewing stuff, how to, which we did this little demo here. I hope that was fun. And then development for your career. Don't forget, with all this training, and then we'll go to questions, that it's how you use it. It's how you use it for your community. But I don't feel like we even have to hang on this because you guys are so invested in this. Okay, great. Well, let's take some questions. I almost want to start with an online question. Alicia, if you don't mind, she's got a mic back there. Okay. Let's hear what folks are curious about.
Okay, so one of the questions was, if you were to suggest a streaming app, what would it be?
Well, for this, we're using OBS. Raise your hand if you've heard of OBS. Yep, it's good. It's free. Has some bugs sometimes. Not perfect because it's free. But we typically stream with OBS. Good question. Right here, yeah.
What camera do you recommend?
I like this one. I think this is an affordable one. This is a Sony NX5R. What I would say is if you're spending around $2,000, you can't go wrong. All the brands have about the same stuff: Panasonic, Sony, JVC. I like Sony the most, maybe Panasonic second. What matters is that you've got good audio connections, because this little microphone example that we gave up here, that external microphone, you can't do that on like a $1,000 camera. $1,000 camera is great for shooting B-roll, maybe a cut camera or something, but your primary camera, you want to have that microphone input, and that usually starts around $2,000. So that's an NX5R. They just discontinued it, so good luck Googling it. But they have a new version of it that's like 4K and has things on it that you don't need and that we don't need. Let's take another question, maybe for somebody not in the front row. So another question somewhere? Sure, right here.
What do you have for people that do not show their face during watching?
One more time, I'm sorry.
What do you have
that do not show their face during live streams. I'm going to bring you this mic because I actually want to hear more about that. Is that like a specific use case or something of what you're talking about? I want folks at home to hear this too. Folks that don't show their face.
Basically, like they don't want to show their face just because they're young or they're more of an artist and they want to show their sprites that they want to use.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a no face streamer myself, so I kind of understand something like that. So I was just wondering, what type of advice would you have for that?
Yeah, there are probably two options there: a simple option and then a more complex option. Simple would be, I would just frame up the camera shot from shoulders down. The news does this all the time. Crime documentaries do this all the time. It's a neck down shot, or you can frame it up where you don't turn the lights on. You take those two lights that were up here on the subject, pull them back where now the lights are on the backdrop, so the backdrop's plenty bright, but the subject's face is pitch black dark, and you can do that. It's a little risky because technically a shadow, you could accidentally reveal them, so I like neck down for like a simple solution. More complex, you can blur it out. You can do that with a character generator, but it's very expensive, and then technically if they move, then they're out of the blur. So I would just do neck down. But that's an interesting question. We'll get that mic back. How about in the back row here?
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes. It's a great question. It's an important question, and it's an urgent question. It's important and it's urgent. Great, right here.
So if doing a live stream would how many people in the crew would you most recommend? If it would be what's the biggest amount of people that you would recommend in the crew?
This is a fun question. I'm going to repeat it. I want to make sure we heard it. Basically, how big of a crew is too many? Or what's a good size crew, and when does it kind of start to be too many? We had a live stream last month with 57 people on the crew. That's too many. Alex was the PM on that show. Alex is the PM on this show. Everybody wave at Alex. He's leading this crew all week. He's doing a great job. Alex led that crew with 57. That was too many. LOL. It was great. It was a great crew. We did a great job. I think what I would keep in mind is every time you add a person, they need to be able to be in communication with one another. They need to be able to hear. You only have so many people who can kind of be within earshot. If you have headsets, which is super fancy, we've got headsets on this show, then how many headsets do you have? But I would do like 4 or 6. I think once you've got 8 or 10 or 12 people, maybe for sports, if you got 6 cameras or something, it's necessary. But when you have that many people, it's going to be difficult to keep them all in sync, at least for fundamentals. I would rather see y'all do a flawless show with 4 people than have 12 people on the crew and it just be kind of full of little silly mistakes, Other questions? Great.
Did you ever talk about...
I'm going to have you use the mic so people at home can hear. Sorry.
Did you ever talk about if someone only did just them, they didn't have a crew?
I love this question. What if you don't have a crew? What if it's just you? So same setup, right? You can still do 2 lights and just set them up yourself. You can still place that microphone, set it up yourself. You can still place that camera. When I've streamed, if I'm leading a webinar and I'm quarantined at home or something, or can't bring people in, I simplify it way, way, way down. One of our core values at Avad3 is seek to simplify, and we would rather simplify it and it be flawless. It may not be as slick or polished or have graphics, whatever, but it works and it's on the air. So I would simplify. I would literally use a webcam. I would literally just get it really close to you so the microphone is good. I would use maybe 1 ring light or something. If you get it so complicated that when something goes bad, you have to leave the shot to fix it. That's not great, Another question right here.
Did you have to get a job before you started doing this to make enough money to pay for it?
Yes, great question. I could not find a job doing this, which is why I started the company. I wanted to just work somewhere, but couldn't find anywhere. I volunteered a ton at my church, and then sometimes the church would pay me. So I was mostly volunteering. Sunday morning, they weren't paying me. Sunday night, they weren't paying me. Wednesday night, they weren't paying me. Come to mention it, they weren't paying me much. But on Saturdays, if there was a wedding, they would pay me for that because the person doing the wedding had paid them. And so I would encourage you, thank you. I would encourage you to get environments. Like I said, get in the environment. Get in environments even if it's for free. And then by being there, opportunity may come. Opportunity will never come if you kind of stay at home and hide at home and say, well, they'll call me when they want to pay me. They don't know you. I would get out there as a volunteer in those environments and then ask for it. Hey, I'd love to get paid to do this. Don't be shy about it. Let them know. Is there anything coming up that is paying? That entrepreneurial spirit in me, how we formed Avad3, came from that. I was looking for people to pay me, and then that turned me into an entrepreneur, basically, which is why I started the company. So, good question. I really like these questions. We got 4 minutes, probably time for a few more.
Do you, if you're doing a sports live stream, is it easier to get sound on those live streams, or just have a live stream where you're just doing the game, or is it easier to get sound?
Good question. For sports, I would want a minimum of 4 mics, 2 on the commentators, as somebody said earlier about kind of a commentator, and 2 just miking the crowd. It's awkward in sports if you don't hear the crowd. They make a touchdown, it's crickets. That's weird. Even if you have commentators who are screaming, touchdown, touchdown, it's still weird. And so I would want to have 2 mics that are miking the crowd, and they can be kind of anywhere because the crowd's loud. And then 2 mics on if you have 2 commentators. If you don't, you can just mic the crowd. And so then you want to run those into a mixer, the audio mixer we talked about, and then feed it into your camera like we talked about, or into the switcher. Make you run all the way down the aisle. Alex, this guy back here. Maybe this one and maybe one more or so.
How much money do you make being behind the camera?
It's a good question. Camera op is, hang out there, Alex, we're going to go across the aisle next. Camera op is the most entry-level job. It's the best place to start out to get the experience. Everywhere pays different. The news is probably the best place to start. The news will give you a shot if you don't have a ton of experience. I venture to say most of y'all, if you're doing live streams in your school, probably are closer to getting a job at the news than you think. So that's the entry-level job, and then from there you could maybe graduate to director, which is what Sebastian's doing on this. Who tuned in to the virtual show last March, the virtual EASTCon? Did you watch that last March? Okay, a few people. Sebastian on this show was punching that show then. So I don't know exactly what camera ops make an hour, especially it's in different cities. But that's your best shot at getting started somewhere is on camera. Let's go across the aisle for the last question here.
How do you film a game and you at the same time?
Good question. Okay, great. I'll answer that and then we'll wrap up. So in this example, we only had 1 camera. To do that, you'd want to have multiple. And when you're watching ESPN or CBS Sports or something, that's what you're seeing. You have a wide shot on the field, and then you also have a shot that's just on the commentators. Sometimes, depending on how many cameras you have, people don't care if they even see the commentators. Don't feel like you have to light them and have given a dedicated camera to them or 2 cameras or something. For the most part, people didn't tune in to watch them. They tuned in to watch the ball. And so, but you'd want multiple cameras if you wanted to see them and them. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hang out now that we're wrapping up here. I want to make sure we end on time, especially for the folks at home. I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to hang out in here for about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk down there. And everything's shut off because the crew's done for the day. They're resting and they're in tomorrow. But I'm going to walk into the general session and hang out in there. So if you have a question, I'll answer it in here for 5 minutes. We'll stop the stream and everything. And then if you want to come with me, you're all invited. If you have free time, I have no idea what you're doing next. If you have free time, you're welcome. We'll go down and walk the general session for 15 minutes and we could look at stuff in there. I'll stay with you till they tell me we have to eat. I don't care how much time we spend. I want you guys to get your questions answered here and there. So thanks for coming. Thanks for caring about live streaming. Use it for community. Thanks again.